I don't know what happened with that video.
What was that?
My intro, and then it did something weird. But hey, hi everyone. Welcome to Blacksburg on the rocks. How are y'all today? Chance. Excellent. We got our children welcome. We are joined, me, of course, Lord Dr. Jeremy, Paul Van Wagner himself, and
that's me. And him.
Pete
That was
Macedo, the Lord, the future mayor of Blacksburg. Pete Macedo is here, everyone. How are you today, Pete?
Doing well. Doing great. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
dude.
Pete, are you having second thoughts at this moment?
I think you're supposed to.
Yeah,
I've had first thoughts and second thoughts. I've constant thoughts, always thoughts.
Okay, that's fair. I tend to not think, so that's what gets me in trouble. And then usually I call Jeremy and I'm like, "Hey, help me out of this."
Yes.
Right.
So, Pete, in case you've not seen the show before, we typically get blacked out drunk and curse a lot, but today we're going to be respectful for you, sir.
No, not for me, for my mom.
For your mother. For your mother who's going to be watching this. Yes, we will be respectable for your mother.
As someone that was raised by a single mom for several years, I can respect that, and I will behave for moms everywhere. But let me just say, moms. Okay, I'm done.
Exactly, right? No. My mom's cool. She's awesome. And she would want you guys to be who you are. So
excellent. So, Pete, tell me, did you watch the spring game?
I did not.
Neither did anyone. They didn't televise it, so it was like I wasn't going. I've got a toddler, and the weather was terrible,
right.
So I just went down to the post game at Maroon Door with Dan and Brian and Pete. So Pete B. So that's all I did. But from what I hear, it was a lot of nothing.
I told you that last week.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of football games in my time, a lot of football. And
Bagel Daddy.
Yeah. Well, I was in the marching band at Tech.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Nice.
I actually have the record. I was in the band for 10 years. And I played tuba. And so I was in it all through undergrad and grad school and just kept rolling with it. So I started that in 93 and we started going to bowl games in 93. So maybe I should get the tuba back on.
Bring the tuba back, Pete. We need Pete on the tuba. That is what has been missing clearly.
So, Pete, I have a question. The only thing I really know about band, my fiance Bridget was in band, so I know what she tells me. But then I know what I learned from the American Pie movies. What is more accurate, my fiance or the American Pie movies?
I have not spoken to your fiance in like 2 weeks. So, I'm not sure, but I would be it's in the middle. It's in the middle, especially
That's fair.
when you get the MVs. There's two marching bands at Tech, so I was in the civilian one, and so you have the MVs and the HTs, and when you have a band of 330 people and you give them a per diem and you send them to the Sugar Bowl, it's probably closer to the movie, I would say.
Let's just say stuff happens, right?
Pete.
Stuff happens.
Yeah.
Mayor Pete is now Dirty Pete. No, never. He is Mayor Pete.
Hey, listen, Pete is relatable, right? Like, that's why people are going to love him, because they're going to be like, this is a dude that I could call up on a Thursday and be like, yo, meet me at Hokie House. We're going to have a beer and we're going to talk about everything that's wrong with the town of Blacksburg. Whereas with the current regime, never mind. I will not say what I actually think.
You ready to throw some mud, Pete? We going to get down into it?
I tell you, I would be happy to hear it, but I think the big thing that frustrates me so much is that I've heard from so many people that there's no point in talking to town council because they're just going to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But I've had very positive experiences with reaching out to them, with having good conversations. This whole like construction project that just went through was not something I was happy with, but I was able to get meetings with all of the town council members, and had really good conversations. And it was a close vote. You know, it was 3-4, and well, 3-4 as far as I said. It was 4-3 as far as it going through. But there are council members that really want to listen, that want more feedback, that know that they're not the smartest person in the room, and they need everybody to chip in and contribute. And there are some that are less so. But just the fact that there's a perception that, like, yeah, there's no point in talking to them, that stinks. Everybody should feel like that you could reach out to them, and or to anyone, any of your leadership, and that they want to hear from you. So that was the most frustrating thing for me, and that was one of the reasons that I really decided to run. Was we need to change that. We need to change that, just that vibe in the town, that the people who are making decisions don't want to hear from you.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So Pete, let's get into it. First off, one of the biggest problems in Blacksburg. You know, it's tough having a business in downtown Blacksburg.
Let's be honest, Pete. It's trees in front of signs.
We're going to get to the tree later.
No,
we are going to get to the tree later.
Okay, all right. Yes. I'm jumping the gun. I'm very excited.
Now, as a fellow business owner who Pete owns Blacksburg Bagels, I get a delivery every single week, and they are amazing. I highly recommend the breakfast bars. That's usually what I eat for breakfast. Pete, what have you came upon? Like, what have has been your biggest struggles as a small business owner in Blacksburg, and how do you plan to address that?
So the things that is very unique about Blacksburg, to what most business owners aren't expecting, is just the seasonality of this town.
Yeah,
and that we have things like this past weekend. Like, for example, you had the spring game, you had Parents Weekend, you had the Remembrance Run. There are other, sporting events, and probably 10 other things going on in town that I'm not sure what they were. And so if you want to have a business that's going to meet the capacity of these very huge weekends and things like that, if you're that big, you can't survive when things are super lean.
Yeah.
And so you can't take advantage of those opportunities for you don't want to be a cash grab, but sometimes you almost have to, because you go to like winter break, the week after graduation, everything just drops like a rock. And it's you want to keep your business going because you want to keep your staff employed, and they need to be, getting the hours that they need so that you can keep going. But that's the biggest struggle. I think it's just this like extreme seasonality of the town, because of the influx of people. I'm really interested to see what Metallica brings.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
In a couple weeks. But yeah, that's tough. Whenever I hear a business that's opening up like in June, it's like, oof, I hope you can get through 3 months with no income. But that's, just knowing that you have to grow at a pace that you're comfortable with is the most important thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt similarly.
Yeah. I mean, one of the problems is, we don't have a lot of people in the town when the students leave. We've got to keep people in. And, I live in Christiansburg because I could not afford to live in Blacksburg. Like, I tried buying houses and I was having everything snatched up from under me with cash offers. Yep. Like, it was impossible to live in Blacksburg. I couldn't even buy a house. I was trying. Right. And that's something we've got to address. And that's one of the issues, like, I wanted to get into is our housing shortage. Like, how do we address that? My entire thing is we're so behind the ball that everything that goes up is just immediately gobbled up by students. That's one of the huge issues. But how do we actually address that? How do we get like the young professionals and other people who are going to, like the young families, to like live here in Blacksburg instead of living out in Christiansburg?
Yeah, there's so many factors in there to unpack, but I think one of the big things, like you were saying, let's talk about how it's just hard to buy a house. And the reason it's hard is just what you said. People will just drop cash on it. Yep. So you can't, because that means you can't get a loan to meet whatever price that they're going to pay for the house. Yep. Because the bank won't give you a loan for more than what it's worth. But when folks are paying for this as an investment property, or as sort of an additional home type of thing, then they're not going to be in the same situation that we are, where you're worrying about grabbing a bank loan to get these things. So one of the things that I really want to look into is like, what is the reality of the housing situation in town? Because I feel like so much of it is just anecdotal. Like housing studies, whenever a new development comes in, seem to come from the developer. And there's been several that have been done by the university or other folks in town. But the thing I want to target is just what you're saying. These people are buying houses for cash, and how are they using them, right? Because I think most people who live in Blacksburg know of houses in their neighborhood that don't have anyone who live in them at all.
Yeah. It's a problem. Like our town's hollowed out. That's why, the businesses in downtown, it's so hard to, make a living. Yeah. Having a business in Blacksburg, because it's so boom or bust. We've got to get families in. We've got to keep people here. Right.
You have to have people who are here are going to be here year round. And so that's why I'd like to, there was what was it, like 2015? Someone had shown me this study that they did. It was like the economic impact of athletics on the NRV. And there was this little sub piece in the bottom, and it was, they said that they had talked to realtors and surveyed like season ticket holders, and said basically trying to get a guess at how many homes there were in Blacksburg at that point in time, since 10 years ago. And they said there was an estimated like 1,400 homes in Blacksburg that are not used except for football games.
Yeah.
And if there's some way to incentivize those homeowners, or some of them could be apartments, and again, a lot of this was just kind of like a guess. If we could do a better study and find out where these homes are, who are the owners, and could you somehow incentivize them to rent them to people who are the audience that we want to reach, these families who are going to be staying here long term, maybe folks who are in like lower middle income, stuff like that wouldn't be able to get in. But if you could say, have a program like we had on my street when I first bought my house, where they were given $25,000 to families who were low to middle income, or if you rented to people who are low to middle income, you get $25,000 to do your roof, your windows, and your siding, but you just had to rent it out to someone for 5 years in that category. So you think of, if there is 1,400 homes, I don't know what if you can get 20 people to latch on to this option of, okay, you're not coming to football games anyway because they're not playing, right? So is it worth more to you to get some money to fix up your house and some motivation to rent it out to families that we want to have living year round in town, who might take an option like that, and maybe we could get some more homes available. I don't think it would be easy to get people to sell them, but to rent them at least to the right audience, it's worth trying.
See, that's my thing. I think we should have a ton of developments up on North Main that are super high capacity for students, and if we could get more families into the single family homes that are actually staying here year round, I think that would be better for Blacksburg overall.
Yeah, I think that it's that how many students we have in town is kind of a question mark too, because everybody's talking about the growth of the university and like tons of enrollments and stuff. But the head count in Blacksburg last year by text report, it was like February 7th, I think, came out. The head count in Blacksburg only went up 70 students last year.
Yeah.
70. So that people graduate and people come in. So it's that flow that comes through. They've had a lot more enrollments, but a lot of it's at the other campuses. And they had more new faculty and staff than they had new students last year. So you need to be providing housing for them. And it needs to be in the right places, just like you were saying. Like you can't one of the biggest concerns I had about this one at 801 North Main Street was that there's no resources for the people living there. You slap 800 people in this spot, you take out all the commercial space underneath them. Like, where are they going to get their groceries? Where are they going to get their socks? There's no pharmacy right there. It's like they're saying, oh, well, you can walk to campus and you can walk downtown and you can go home. But like, that's like you're talking about young professionals, students, doesn't matter who you are. There's more to your life than walking to work or walking to school, walking down to the bar and going home and sleeping it off. But it's just like,
there was not more to my life when I lived downtown. I loved it. I loved every second of it.
Understandable. Yeah.
And I tipped very well.
But I think that if you are attracting people who like you want to have to be your neighbors and you want to be like a part of your social community and stuff like that, you have to give them more opportunities to like interact with one another in a positive way.
So Pete, let me ask you this, and I guess I'm kind of circling back to something that you said earlier about getting the locals out. Census as of 2024 shows 45,485 permanent residents in Blacksburg. I guess, where are those people and why? And Jeremy, maybe you can speak to this also as a local business owner. Where are those people and why are they not coming out? And I realize they're not going to go to Tots on a Thursday. Okay, that's fine. I get that. But like, why aren't they taking advantage of their local pharmacies, their local bagel shops, whatever it happens to be, local restaurants, whatever? Where are those people going?
Well, I can tell you, parking downtown is hard. For a lot of people, especially older individuals. They don't want to do it. But there's also, like, we have a lot of initiatives. We got our whole buy local, eat local kind of thing, and we try to do that. But the problem is you'll have a lot of people slap that bumper sticker on and then do all their shopping at Walmart. So that entire mentality, we've got people to actually latch on to it and actually do it because we've got to support each other as small businesses. Like during COVID, when so many people couldn't operate, and that was before I was super poor because pharmacies are dying. Back then, like, I was still making money and I was trying to spread it around as much as possible to everyone. And, it's that kind of support. We've got that to, like, not just be in the small business community. We've got to feel it as a community as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Jeremy, I have an idea for you real quick. You guys are going to like this. Buy bagels and breakfast bars from Pete, right? Buy a bunch of them. Charge an extra $1 for each one of them and sell them at your store. Pete's making his money. You're making your money. Everybody's happy. I'm just saying. I actually buy
bagels from Pete every Wednesday and give them away to help promote his store and to just give away to patients to let them know I love them.
Love it.
I mean, that's honestly, so to come back to your question real quick, like where are all these people? Where are they going? Mm-hmm. I could guess, but we don't really know. And that's the thing. It's like, that's how we should be partnering with the university. Is like, let's go to the university and say, hey, could you help us do a study to figure these things out? Let's get the reality of the situation and not just reacting to what someone has expressed a concern about, like directly. There's a step in between. Because it's just, so we're at the farmer's market. We've been at the farmer's market for Blacksburg Bagels for like 13 years now. Mm-hmm. And so it's very it's grown so much, and we've seen a lot of our regulars not come on Saturdays because it's gotten so busy. So these folks who were like supporting us initially don't have the capacity or the comfort to show up and support again. And I think you probably see that at a lot of the restaurants downtown too, that once they get sort of discovered by a non-local audience, you know, the locals, but then it becomes discouraging for you to go there because it's not the place you wanted it to be.
You can't even get a table at PK's anymore, hardly. And I love going to PK's. Like that was the thing I looked forward to the most being a townie, is I can feel very comfortable at PK's now.
Yeah. Pokey House downstairs, PK's, the pub, and it's just hard. I think we need to really like not just have like side conversations, but we really need to like go out and practically door to door and say like, well, what is it that you value, and is there a reason that's stopping you from going to get those things? Because I think people have shown that they value local businesses. You look at, you know, Wendy's closed, Zaxby's closed, Hardee's closed, but you know, the two pharmacies in town, one of them, you know, grew up and got into an even bigger spot. And I feel like I always see folks in your spot too. You know, my business has grown. I've seen tons of restaurants and like Eats and Annie K's and Oasis and like all these independent places. One of the things we really saw, at least that I saw with COVID, was the people realize that if you don't support something, it's going to disappear.
Yeah.
And they do it as much as they can, but it would be good to see if there are other barriers for people not participating as much.
Well, and I understand the whole from, you know, September 1st until May 10th, not wanting to, like, I totally get that. Right. But then there's that time from like May 15th to August 31st. And it's like, okay, you know, as someone that used to run a business in downtown Blacksburg and would sit and I would look over the parking lot behind Hokey House and the cellar and all that, and you'd go, okay, like last weekend, this parking lot, you couldn't find a parking spot, and now I can take up 6 and nobody's going to complain to me. So like, you know, even if those 45,000 plus would come out in the summertime and just support you all, you know, there's got to be a way to, I don't know, incentivize maybe isn't the right term, but to get them out and be like, hey, look, the students are gone. This is your town again. Enjoy it for 4 months.
Yeah. I mean, Blacksburg in the summer is the best place on earth. It's not crowded. You get to go enjoy all the things you don't get to enjoy. Like, I like going and enjoying like some Sharky's wings during the summer because I never get to while
you don't have
school's
like
in.
12 broccoli heads that are in there with their collars popped in their freaking sports.
Paul, these are my people, Paul. How dare you?
The broccoli heads? You like the broccoli heads? All right.
Yes. I'm the chapter advisor for my fraternity.
Broccoli heads.
Yes, I adore you, broccoli heads. Don't listen to Paul. You all go have fun. These are some of the best years of your life. Go enjoy them.
No, and I think that's important. That this is a place that they should feel comfortable. You know, the students should feel comfortable going out and having a good time. But
we appreciate you, Chris. Chris had a nice thing to say.
Oh, absolutely.
Pete's been a wealth of information for Sarah and I as business owners. Without his help and guidance, we probably wouldn't still be here. Man talks the talk and walks the walk. Pete and Jeremy both have inspired us as business owners, and we appreciate you guys both. I know how Jeremy inspires you. It's the products that you sell. Pete must have been the how to run a business. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, Mom.
Yeah, Bear Dance has been a great business. I've really enjoyed seeing them grow, seeing new types of businesses in town, and also, you know, they have a different spin on what you have. I don't know. There's some
We're on to our Hokey High segment, sponsored by Bear Dance Hemp.
Oh, yeah.
Let's all talk about how much we love Chris, Sarah, and Bear Dance.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget that part. Yeah, absolutely. I think, see, one of the things that's great about Bear Dance, right? So I think a lot of people see, they say, like, if you want to start a new business, how it's going to work? Well, you have a car wash or a vape shop, right? Like, those are the things that you just see popping up everywhere. But like, Bear Dance does not fit into that, even though a lot of folks think they might. And Chris and Sarah work so hard with selling. Oh, that's a bad joke.
Marnie, God, fuck, Marnie, come on, it's terrible.
Like,
for those that are listening and don't get to see this, sells bagels and is running for mayor. Sounds like a well-rounded guy. The whole HOLE package, if you will. Yep.
But so like Bear Dance, they were really into like social justice, and I think you're still allowed to say that, like really making sure that people are educated about about cannabis products and like what the implications of these things are and the stigmas associated with it. And just, they've worked so well to be a different type of voice in that business model.
Yes, they were have always been on the forefront when it comes to legislation, everything else. I like seeing business owners get involved in politics because, I mean, I do that. You need to have people involved. Otherwise, you're not going to get what you want as far as that industry developing in the way that it should.
Right. And I think, you're like another great example of this, where you have, when the business owners are motivated to learn more and to basically become educators about what they are providing, and again, to admit that they're not the smartest person in the room, you have to.
I will never admit that.
I know. Well, you just need
I have to a lot. I get in the room with some really smart people.
Yeah. But it's like, but you go to those people to learn more so that you can make better choices and help other people make better choices, help other people make safer choices. Like, I think I've changed so much about what I offer at my business with baking based off of people who've come to me with health concerns and like just questions about that. And I'll just stop and be like, okay, well, tell me why, like, you don't want to eat this, or this. And I'll have people send me like studies and stuff like that so that I can maybe change my approach to how I bake, or at least make a decision as to whether or not I'm going to. And I think that it's so important to be, when someone comes into your business, to be the smartest person in the room about what you do, because that's why you're there and why you're doing that. And if there's something you don't know, you go figure it out. And that's, I don't know. I think that Bear Dance does a great job with that. I think, Jeremy, you do an excellent job with it. And there's plenty of other businesses in town that are really just rocking it out.
Well, I started doing better once I started eating my Big Papa oat bars every morning for breakfast. I put some peanut butter on them things, and I am so happy.
So here's my concern about that, Pete. I guess you, as the owner, you can help me address this. If I were to come into your store and I were to order 20 of those breakfast bars, the fat kid in me is going to eat all 20 of those in about the next 45 minutes after.
You will not. So they are quite feeling. They're big. They're quite feeling.
I'm just thinking, like, how do I save some for later? I guess that's the big question.
Well, you can always come back another time.
That's the man right there.
Yeah.
Come back tomorrow. We'll have more.
So we sell them in packs of for the gluten-full ones, they're in packs of 5, and gluten-free, they're packs of 4. So I always tell people, they're like, oh, do you just sell them singles? I said, no, here's what you do. You buy this and you give the other 4 to your friends, and then they're going to like them so much, they're going to buy some for you next time. And that way you only have to buy it once, and it's like a pyramid scheme, but with breakfast bars.
Yeah.
I like it.
They are very high in fiber. So I would recommend, if you do eat 20 of them, Don't go on any long hikes. Yeah.
Well, with all that fiber, it's probably going to come out real easy.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Be
That's
prepared.
duly noted.
Now we're on to our vibe check, sponsored by Quest Floor Care. Shout out, Joe. The vibe around Blacksburg right now, Pete, what are you feeling?
Oof. Well, tomorrow's April 16th, man.
Yeah, it is.
So it's a very different vibe for people who were here a while back. And that's been on my mind a lot. But I think that just to completely change the vibe of the whole world here.
It's our first April 16th without Nikki Giovanni.
No joke.
Yeah, I used to see her and Jenny Flowers on April 16th because I know it's just such a hard day for them.
Yeah. It's crazy. You know, it just reminds me, I was telling someone the other day that like that was the saddest and the gladdest I've ever been to live in Blacksburg.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot in there. But the night that everybody showed up on the drill field with candles was more important than any football game, any graduation, any stepping out, anything. It's just that everybody who mattered was there. And except the ones we lost, but we're here because they're not, right? We keep doing this because they can't. And I do get a little discouraged. You know, I know they have the remembrance run and all that. And so they sort of, you know, celebrate and the folks who are gone now. But unless I'm out of town for some reason, I'm always there on the 16th. I'm always talking to my friends Stones and there's not a lot of people who come to that anymore. And I know there's different reasons. Some of them it doesn't have the same weight. For some, it's just too hard to do. But I think it's really important, you know, can't forget that one. It's a big day. And
it's been almost 2 decades. It doesn't feel like 2 decades.
I can tell you that as someone that was living in Michigan at the time, that was one of those things where maybe not quite the level of, you know, the September 11th attack, but like we all kind of stopped, even those of us that were in Michigan, and we were all kind of like watching it play out on the news. And I can remember one of my coworkers and we went to the gym every day, and we were at the gym at like 3:30, and we were like meandering on a treadmill because we were glued to what was going on the TV, trying to just kind of figure out, piece together what happened as the news agencies were. So it wasn't just something that affected Blacksburg or the New River Valley. There were rippling effects on that, fortunately or unfortunately. And, you know, I think we all became Hokies that day. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's like, it's important to remember that wasn't just something that happened to Virginia Tech.
Right.
It happened to Blacksburg. Like there's all the like, we are Virginia Tech, but like we are Blacksburg, right? Yeah. And it even if you're not Virginia Tech, that day you were Blacksburg. And it was so surreal.
There's your slogan, Pete. We are Blacksburg.
I like it.
We've got it.
It's not just like, you know, I said that at one of the council meetings. I was like, you know, we need to all support one another, both like educating each other and communicating with one another and feeding one another and keeping each other healthy, and just making sure that everybody feels appreciated. Because like I hate this like Virginia Tech Blacksburg thing, the student non-student thing. Like how amazing was it how well everybody came together. And like you're right, like people in Michigan were coming together with us here. Like, why can't we do that over something positive? Why can't we do that in a way to celebrate? Why does it always have to be that we come together because we lose?
Yeah.
Except the football team, we don't come together when they lose. But
We all tear
Lately,
each other
that's the only
apart when they lose, and then weep silently.
Right.
Sometimes not silently.
But it was so strange because I'd have friends like they're sending me messages. I was like, why do you know about this?
Yeah.
Why? Like my sister lives in Soho and she was there for 9/11 and she's calling me. I was like, but you're in New York City, like more important. But it was just, I don't know. I wish we could have learned a little bit more from that situation and those types of things weren't still happening. But regardless, what I do want to still have happen is that we all get together as community and support one another and celebrate one another and respect one another. And it's possible, but I don't know. I think you need someone, if it takes me, running for mayor to share that message a little bit louder and it helps a little bit, then I'll do it. I'll do it.
Excellent. Well, Pete, what is the platform you're running on besides We Are Blacksburg and we're coming together? What are the major points you want to like drive home to everyone? Like what is the major issues that you're trying to nail?
So I think, the housing thing is a big thing, but someone had asked me the other day about like, well, how do you fix it? The right answer is, I don't know. And we don't know because like I was saying, we're not looking at current data. We're not looking at like real numbers. We're getting things from developers and from everybody who has something to gain. And we're not really looking to experts on this, and the experts are right there. They're on campus. We've got thousands of people who would be super excited to contribute to the town by helping doing like service learning classes and work studies and senior projects and professors. You saw all the work that was done in other parts of the country, other parts of the world to support them. The town could be soliciting like would you help us identify the reality around the housing market, around these empty houses, the hokey houses, I think I've heard them called, about the stormwater, about like all our trees that are getting put in front of business owner signs and stuff.
Big one.
What is the reality? And we have people here who we can ask and they can help us. And that's how they can contribute to the town. The university's losing money left and right with grants disappearing and all sorts of stuff. And so, but what they can do is provide expertise to the town and we can celebrate them for that. It's not just the big event that we welcome the students into our town so that they can clean up our yards and stuff. But like, let's welcome them into our town by asking them to help us make better decisions.
Yes, absolutely. I think going hand in hand, that's one way you do it. Pete, there was one thing I really wanted to get your opinion on. Now, let's say that you're mayor, and hypothetically, there's these sidewalks being built. And on these sidewalks, there are these trees being planted. If there's a tree planted in front of a business owner's sign, what recourse would that business owner have for the fact that the tree has covered up his very expensive lit sign?
I feel your pain, man. They're putting an 8-story building in front of my very expensive sign. But have you, maybe you should take like a bonsai class and creatively
suggested that
the tree. It could
chop the tree. Yes.
Yeah. There's a whole forestry program here, man. You could see if they could grow the tree in a way that would highlight the sign.
I emailed the town and they were like receptive, I thought at first, and then it was just like crickets. Like whenever it grew up to where it was like blocking my sign, I was like, can I at least like get some more signage and put another one up or something like that? And they're like,
nope.
Yeah, just nothing.
No.
And then when I changed my name and replaced like my front vinyl or whatever, they were like, well, we can't approve this because there's it's too much with those in your sign. I was like, my other sign? You mean the one that's blocked by the tree?
The one that can't be seen? Yeah.
I think and here's the crazy thing. I mentioned before, and Pete, you don't know a whole lot about me, I don't think. But, I moved here
I love that picture back there.
Thank you. That's 1993 Paul Van Wagner, straight out of high school.
I'll get my 93
listen,
one out.
I'll save some of the ladies for the rest of you, but just maybe not tonight. One of the things that really intrigued me about Blacksburg, and of course, when I knew I was moving here, I did a bunch of research on the area, and I kept seeing, like, whether it be Wikipedia or whatever it happened to be, whatever news outlet was talking about Blacksburg and Virginia Tech, how pro local business they were. But then I see little things, and I don't mean that in a way that Jeremy's tree is not a big issue, but like it's little things like that every single business owner seems to have an issue with.
It's a big issue, like, Paul.
I mean, yes, to you it is, right? Like, and is it wrong that it says that Blacksburg is pro local business? Because it just doesn't feel like it outside of a few that might be on the inside of the circle of legislation.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. One of the most missed businesses in Blacksburg has got to be Mike's Grill.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they struggled. There's a lot of reasons why they decided not to continue. But one of the things that they struggled with was that brand new sidewalk that they put all the brick over there on that, that stretch coming from PK's all the way down to the cellar and through town. But there was like a little thing you had to almost jump across. And of course they have the signs that say businesses are still open, but it's just kind of, it's hard to see like all those little versions of that make it less easy to access these places that you still want to be there, you still want to support. And I don't know why those decisions are made, to do that why is it, there's got to be some like good faith on the part of a business owner comes in and you spend all this money and you put a sign in a certain spot and that you've met all the requirements of the town. But then they put something in front of it. It's like, well, maybe I wouldn't have picked this location if I'd known that this was going to happen, or I wouldn't have picked that sign, or, whatever it is. So I think it's worth looking into. They've brought someone in now for the town who's intended to act as like a business liaison. And hopefully, Angie will be someone who can mitigate some of these issues and stop them from happening in the future. But I think the biggest thing that I felt, like with this development across the street from my bakery, I had such a huge problem because the first time I heard about it was when the zoning sign went up across the street. Mm-hmm. And everybody on that town council and tons of people in town know me or my business at some level and could have at any point just said, hey, did you know something's happening across the street? Yeah. and just a heads up. And so I think that, like, so when did you find out about the tree? When they started planting it?
When they planted the fucking tree? That's when.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
Right. No, Mom gets it. But it's just like, so I think that some of the communication may go to the property owners, but for all of us who are renting and business owners, nothing's likely to ever be said.
Right.
And so we need to be a little more proactive about that. Like if something's going to affect something in town that you want to still be there, then like just somebody, should be able to make the time to go and talk to the folks in your building and say, hey, trees are coming in, what do you think about that? And maybe they hear what you say and they don't care, but at least they asked or said something, and it wasn't just it popped up. But
Pete, what would be the ramifications for someone that loves Jeremy? Say, myself and Jay Tucker, and we just decided one evening to just kind of roll up in our pickups and our chainsaws and just kind of remove the tree and maybe take it someplace nice and decorate it. Like, let's say Leslie Hager Smith's front yard. I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not saying it's going to happen, Pete, but I'm just saying if it were to happen.
Yeah.
If something happens to that tree, I have nothing to do with it. I'm saying it, and I've said it a million times. If someone kills that tree, it was not me, and it was no one that I know, to my knowledge.
Yeah, that's I have to support that statement.
Fine.
Yeah, it's
fine.
It's interesting.
I still haven't got an answer to my question ever, but that's okay.
No, I mean, I think here's the thing. Would that change anything?
You'd be able to see Jeremy's sign.
Yeah,
you'd be able to say.
I took my. I haven't even put in a new sign in it yet with my new logo because there's no use because the tree blocks it.
Right.
And Pete, this is episode 34. Would you care to guess how many times this has been brought up in the 34 episodes we've done of this show? I'll give you a hint. It's all of them.
It's all of them.
It's a running gag now. The tree is.
So the tree started this.
The tree started this.
The tree is why you drink, Jeremy. That's what you're saying.
The tree is why I drink.
Okay.
It's not Okies football. It's the tree.
Oh gosh. Oh man, that's a lot. That's a lot to put on a tree.
Well, we've had people offer to remove it. Somebody that owns the business just doesn't want to be involved.
See, I'm so afraid that I'm gonna be like going on about this tree forever, and then someone's gonna do it like as a joke, like, haha, what's going on? And they end up in jail because of like they killed a tree. And it's gonna be like the Auburn tree that like got poisoned and they end up going to jail. Like, no, you all don't kill that tree.
Don't
Wink.
kill the tree.
Don't kill the tree. Wink.
The tree is not the problem. It's a symptom. But I think I think that's part of And it's like how do you express that this is like a bad situation and you don't want it to happen if you have a culture that is saying that you can't talk to the town. They're just going to do whatever they want. It's just kind of
we just circle back. We sure did.
We sure did. Brought it full round.
Yeah.
Big bagel circle.
Well, everyone,
might have been a pretzel twist. I don't know. Whatever.
We're coming to the end of our drinks.
Oh
yes,
Pete. What would you like to say to everyone right now? Our 100-some live viewers, everyone else that watches and listens after, and of course your mother, your dear sweet mother.
And your mom. Yes.
What would you like to say right now?
What would I like to say right now? Honestly, I would like to say thank you to you guys, because as much as there are people who plant trees in front of our businesses and approve sky rises and tear out, I don't know. There's a lot of good people who support one another in this town.
There is.
And you need to look to those folks as examples of who you can be too. And not get discouraged by people saying they don't want to listen, because there's people who do want to listen. There's people who want to help. And those are the people that we should be using as role models. My mom, there's a, I don't know if you could see it very well. She did this little tree over here and I've got it up here, but she was always someone who made things, right? And she talks to me every once in a while. She's like, how did you get into doing all this? How do you figure all this stuff out? And it came from her. Like, she was the one who we moved into a new house, and she's making curtains for it. And she's keeping the budget for everything under the sun. And then she's going out and transcribing Braille and like teaching, dyslexic adults how to read and like all this crazy stuff. And I was like so blessed to have someone like that in my family, and my dad was no slouch either. But it is just like, if you have those types of people around you that you can just value and support and celebrate, then it's so important. And you guys doing this is one of those things.
Yeah,
and
we're special, Paul.
You are.
We are.
We are
very special.
Because you could be out here like yelling about people and like telling them, take down this tree, burn it, throw it across the street, but you're not doing that. It's a joke and you're upset about it, but you're also trying to be supportive, and that's awesome. That's awesome. So
we haven't burned it yet because we know that there is actually a penalty for arson. We're not sure if there's a penalty for just cutting down a tree. And this is our dilemma. Like, will Blacksburg PD show up and arrest us for cutting down the tree? That's where we're kind of, and I know vandalizing city property, whatever, screw that. I just feel like this is a gray area. And
it
I
is
like
a
to live in the
gray
gray area. I just want to make sure that I don't step into the area that gets, Jay Tucker arrested.
I tell you, do whatever it is that you do in your life, you need to make sure that you're willing to accept the repercussions for it, one way or the other. And
well, never mind, we're all set. Chris is going to bail me out. That tree's gone tomorrow. I'm bringing my chainsaw.
Chris is good.
I'm going to do it in the middle of the day. I'm going to do it right in the middle of the day.
Yeah, could you imagine Paul there? I got the tree. He's just joking around. He actually ends up cutting it down. I'm out there just screaming at him not to cut the tree down. The cops show up. It would be quite the scene.
I'll just wait for you to go take your 7-hour bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah, they're literally right around the corner.
It's not going to take them long to get there. That's where.
Pete, do me a favor. Get me some bagels ready for tomorrow. I'll drop them off at the police station. That'll occupy them in enough time for me to cut down the tree. I'll wait till Jeremy's in the crapper for his 18, 19, 40-minute poop that he takes.
It's not really.
I have to get it all out, Paul.
A digital record of your plans for a crime.
But see, here's the thing. Like, I'm actually saying this right now. Everybody's gonna be like, "Nah, he was just blowing smoke." There's no way.
Right.
One day he'll do it.
I'll have alibis. I know people that'll tell you I was fishing with him. That's fine.
I tell you, make it a fundraiser or something like that.
Oh yeah, a fundraiser.
Yeah.
If we fundraise to save the 3-toed salamander that is between the sidewalk and Lane Stadium, and we use every time somebody donates $100, I'll use a handsaw. I give it another pull with the handsaw. Pete, you're onto something. Charity is the best way to do this.
One saw motion, $5. $5 charity of your choice.
Right.
Yes. Pete, you are a genius. Vote for Pete, people. He's got this thing figured out. Why haven't we had you on before this? Damn.
I don't know. It's because
Mama Pete, you raised him right.
So this is actually past my bedtime because I wake up. I'll be going in at 2 a.m. to start baking bagels.
Oh goodness!
So that might be why you've not had me on here. But
all right.
I love it. And by the time 8 o'clock rolls around, I'll be 6 hours into my day. And at 10, I worked an 8-hour day. I can go home and go to bed. So
nice.
Okay.
Now you're up early enough to kill that tree with no one looking.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, no, when I go,
Barney,
at 2 a.m, it, he did it again.
Yeah.
I thought he
does it constantly. One of my best friends in the world.
It's a regular thing. We can't really stop it. We can only hope to contain it.
No, one of his greatest joys in the world is making terrible jokes that make me uncomfortable and I hate.
Yeah.
Someone suggested, which I think we will pick it up as a slogan, is that Pete Macedo is the change that Blacksburg needs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
There
Just as you said that,
he's got it.
Marty chimes in again.
Wow.
He's on point. He's got it going.
He's got it figured out. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're ending this, Marnie.
Pete, we would like to keep going, but
we
Marty
love you.
screwed it up for everybody.
We love you. Thank you so much for coming on. It was great.
Absolutely.
Having you on. You're a wonderful person, and you've got my vote. I'm glad you're running for mayor. I think you're exactly the breath of fresh air that Blacksburg needs.
Jeremy, should we make it official? Should we officially endorse Pete right here, right now?
We officially endorse Pete. Pete for mayor, everyone.
Put my full name up there because nobody knows my last name in this town.
Pete Macedo for mayor.
Yeah, Pete Macedo for mayor at PeteMacedo.com. It's all up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pete, for those of us that don't know, where's the store? Where can we get the bagels?
So we're up North Main Street, just past the roundabout. So where the Ace Hardware is, you take a left of that Ace Hardware away from Main Street, and we're about a block past. Right next to the J&R Pawn Shop and Moore's Auto Body. Two other great local businesses that nobody really knows about.
And just so you know, Pete, you just earned our Rock Hard Player of the Week trophy. Yeah! Get a year's supply of generic Viagra for $150 at Counts Family Pharmacy. Rock Hard Player of the Week. Future Mayor, Peter Macedo, everyone. It's been great having you all.
I'll put that on the resume.
Excellent. Everyone go tune into Boundary Corner and get real analysis.
All right.
All right. This has been another Blacksburg on the Rock.